The Jewel of 7 Stars by Bram Stoker. Adapted for audio by Arnold Anthony Schmidt and Julia Warren. Episode 2, An Awakening.
The lamps. Those lost lamps that Mr. Corbeck had searched for with such effort and such peril had suddenly reappeared in the Napoleon cabinet in Margaret's room.
By what miracles did they come here?
Are you quite sure those lamps are your lamps that were stolen?
Sure? Of course I'm sure. There isn't another set of lamps like these in the world.
Well, so far as you know. There may be some in the British Museum or in Mr. Trelawney's collection. His may be the originals and yours may have been the copies. Is there any way you can identify these as yours?
Identify? Copies of them? British Museum! Rot! Do you think I do not know them? When I have carried them about my body in the desert for 3 months and lay awake night after night to watch them? Look! Look! Did you ever see such as these before? Even in the British Museum or Gizeh or Scotland Yard?
I beg your pardon, old fellow, for my rudeness. I quite lost my temper. You don't mind, do you?
Oh, Lord, sir, nor I. I like to see folks angry when I'm dealing with them. It is when people are angry that you learn the truth from them. I keep cool. That is my trade.
But how did you get them back?
We didn't get them back.
What on earth do you mean? Why, there they are before your eyes. We found you looking at them when we came in.
Why, that's just it. We had only come across them by accident this very moment.
Do you mean to tell me that no one brought them here? That you found them in that drawer?
I suppose someone must have brought them here. They couldn't have come of their own accord. But who or when or how, neither of us knows. Perhaps the servants.
Well, I'm damned. Beg your pardon, miss.
They called up the servants, but none of them could throw any light on the circumstance. An hour later, Dr. Winchester returned.
Dr. Winchester, how good to see you.
And I come bearing gifts.
Why, so you do. And such a large parcel, too.
Aha! Just wait until I've unwrapped it. Now, 2 things I ask. May we use this room for the unveiling? And secondly, can you persuade Master Silvio to join us here? He is a cat with a busy social diary, I know, but perhaps in the name of science he will agree?
But of course. Let me go and fetch him.
Now, for our visitor.
Why, Dr. Winchester, what have you brought? Is that a cat?
Once, many centuries ago, he was. Now...
It's the mummy of a cat.
Yes. And you shall have some of your favourite cream for tea, shan't you? Oh, my goodness, what a fine specimen.
Yes, he is quite a merry fellow. Now, Miss Trelawney, if you wouldn't mind bringing Master Silvio over here to introduce him.
Why, certainly. Come along, Silvio, we have a guest.
He appears completely oblivious to it.
Indeed. Now, for the next step of the plan, allow me to convey Master Silvio to Mr. Trelawney's room. Aha! Observe. See how he wriggles. And we are barely inside the room. There. See how he jumps.
Leaping out of the doctor's arms, Silvio ran over to the cat mummy and began to scratch angrily at it.
Silvio, please, my dear, what has the poor thing ever done to you? Come here! Come here! Oh, bad boy, Silvio!
Miss Trelawney had some difficulty in taking him away, but so soon as she put him out of the room, he became quiet.
I thought so.
That's a very strange thing.
What can it mean?
In his room that evening, Ross was making some notes of what had happened.
Come in. Well, Detective, please sit down. What is it?
I wanted to speak to you, sir, about those lamps. You know that the room where they were found opens directly into the room where Miss Trelawney slept last night?
Yes.
During the night, a window somewhere in that part of the house was opened and shut again. I heard it and took a look around, but I could see no sign of anything.
Yes, I know that. I heard a window move myself.
Does nothing strike you as strange about it, sir?
Strange? Why, it's the most bewildering, maddening thing I have ever encountered. But what do you mean by strange?
You see, I'm not one who believes in magic and such things. I am for facts all the time. This new gentleman says these things were stolen out of his room in the hotel. The professor's daughter, the lady of the house, spends that night on the ground floor. A window is heard to open and shut during the night. When we, who have been during the day trying to find the clue to the robbery, come to the house, we find the stolen goods in a room close to where she slept.
And the inference?
The inference to me is that there was no robbery at all. The goods were taken by someone to this house, where they were received through a window on the ground floor. They were placed in the cabinet, ready to be discovered when the proper time should come.
And who do you suppose brought them to the house?
I keep my mind open as to that. Possibly Mr. Corbeck himself. The matter might be too risky to trust to a third party.
Then the natural extension of your inference is that Mr. Corbeck is a liar and a fraud, and that he is in conspiracy with Miss Trelawney to deceive someone or other about those lamps.
Those are harsh words, Mr. Ross, but I have to go where my reason points. It may be that there is another party than Miss Trelawney in it, but I'm safe on Corbeck. Whoever else is in it, he is. Of course, Mr. Ross, all this too is between you and me.
Quite so. You may depend on my silence. Now, where was I? The lamps, the cabinet, the cat and the mummified cat, contrasting behaviour of Master Silvio. Come in. Ah, Dr. Winchester. Won't you take a seat? You've seen the patient.
I have. And I have also seen Miss Trelawney, who has been telling me about the stolen lamps in the Napoleon cabinet. I confess, I have exhausted all natural possibilities of the case, and begin now to fall back on supernatural possibilities. I have asked Mr. Corbeck to translate a bit of hieroglyphics for us. Ah, here he is now.
Good evening, Malcolm, Doctor. I've been keeping my eyes on the lamps. They're a deal sight too precious to be left to the police. Now, you requested help with some translation, which I should be delighted to help with so far as I can. What is the inscription?
There are two. One of them is the mummy cat, the one I brought earlier to introduce to Silvio. Will you examine its inscription?
Let me see. At first glance, no. There is nothing special in this. It is an appeal to Bast, the Lady of Bubastis, to give her good bread and milk in the Elysian fields. From the method of wrapping, I should say it is from the Delta, and of a late period, when such mummy work was common and cheap. What is the other inscription you wish me to see?
The inscription on the mummy cat in Mr. Trelawney's room.
No, that I cannot do. I am bound to secrecy regarding any other things in Mr. Trelawney's room. But I am convinced that you all wish to help him, honestly and unselfishly. Dr. Winchester, you are a physician, a clever and bold one. Is there no way which you can devise to wake this man from his unnatural stupor?
There is no ordinary remedy that I know of. There might possibly be some extraordinary one, but there is no way to find it out without...
And that?
Knowledge. I am completely ignorant of Egyptian matters. The disease, or condition, or whatever it may be called, from which Mr. Trelawney is suffering, is in some way connected with Egypt.
If you do not help Corbeck, the Professor may remain in this unconscious state forever. Or die.
That settles me. We must awaken Professor Trelawney out of this unnatural sleep. Just give me a little time. For now, Doctor, I suggest you get a few hours' sleep. As for you, Mr. Ross, I shall get you a book from the library to read while you watch in the sick room tonight. It will help you understand other things which I shall tell you later.
Whilst Corbeck was away, Ross sat alone thinking. The world around him seemed illimitably great. The only little spot that interested him seemed a tiny speck in the midst of a wilderness, with darkness and danger pressing in from every side. And the central figure in this little oasis was one of sweetness and beauty, a figure one could love, could die for.
I found a book and have marked the passages for you to read. This is what started Mr. Trelawney, what started me when I read it, and which will, I have no doubt, be to you an interesting beginning to a special study, whatever the end may be.
When Corbeck had gone, Ross put on his respirator, took the book with him, and went to his spell of duty in the sick room. Sister Kennedy sat in her chair by the bedside, patient and alert. A clock ticked on the landing. In the distance, the life of the city hummed and roared. Malcolm picked up the book and read. It told how Nicholas van Huyn of Hoon had visited Egypt, exploring the ruins of many temples and tombs.
Toward evening, we came to the entrance of a narrow, deep valley. I wished to proceed through this, for the sun, now nearly on the horizon, showed a wide opening beyond the narrowing of the cliffs. But the Freilin absolutely refused to enter the valley, alleging that they might be caught by the night before they could emerge from the other end. At first they would give no reason for their fear. Why have we stopped?
Monsieur Van Huyn, they cannot continue further, for they say we have come to the Valley of the Sorcerer, where none may come in the night.
What can they tell us of the Sorcerer?
Monsieur, they say it is not possible to tell you anything. There is no name, they know nothing.
Well, it's late. We must perforce set up camp here for the night.
Good morning, monsieur.
Well, what are the men doing?
They prepare, monsieur, to escort you to the valley as promised.
Indeed. A good night's sleep restored them to their senses, I take it.
Perhaps. I have spoken with their leader, and he says that the great sorcerer in ancient days, a king or queen, they could not say which, is buried there. The men cannot give the name. They still insist there is no name, and that anyone who should name it will waste away in life, so that at death nothing of him will remain in the other world.
But they still will guide us?
Indeed. Mahmoud has promised by the life of his father to guide us through the valley. After that...
I see. In the narrowest part of the valley stood a great cliff of rock, rising sheer of smooth and even surface, engraved with Kabbalistic signs and many figures of men and animals, suns and stars. The cliff faced exactly north. The Egyptians of my company were terribly afraid, and used every kind of persuasion to induce me to pass on. I found a way by much circuitous journeying to the top of the cliff. Thence I caused myself to be lowered by ropes and found there was an entrance, closed, however, by a great stone slab. by many heavy strokes, I won a way into the tomb. The tomb I found to be complete after the manner of the finest Egyptian tombs, with chamber and shaft leading down to the corridor, ending in the mummy pit.
It is a marvel, a wonder, monsieur.
Indeed, it is complete, a very fine example. And here, a magnificent sarcophagus.
Hey, mon Dieu, what a size!
Yes, and covered with more strange writings. Alas, it will be impossible to carry it away.
You desire to open it, monsieur?
Yes. Call the men to help, will you? Within the sarcophagus was a body, manifestly of a woman, swathed with many wrappings of linen. From certain embroiderings thereon, I gathered that she was of high rank. Across the breast was one hand, unwrapped. This was truly unusual. Even more curious was that the real hand of her who lay enwrapped there, seemingly made as like marble in the process of embalming. I touched the hand and moved it, the arm being something flexible, as a live arm.
The hand, monsieur, it has 7 fingers.
Indeed, so it has, long and fine and of great beauty. And yet, it makes me shudder to touch it.
C'est merveilleux, ça.
You refer to the ruby. Indeed, it is a wonder. Underneath the hand, as though guarded by it, lay a huge jewel of ruby. But its wonder lay in the light of its 7 stars, 7 points shining as though the stars were in reality there imprisoned.
It is entrancing.
It is, which makes me desire to hurry away as soon as might be. I shall take this and some of the amulets and then depart, for we are in a lonely place here with strange men who are not over scrupulous.
You are right, monsieur, for I see greed in their eyes, and now they are already busy with one of the coffers.
What do they hope to find in there? Those are the jars of the organs. Look, they are even filled with oil. We should make to leave now. Warn them of disturbing the dead in this way. Tell them we have ventured too near.
Immediately.
The chief of the Bedouins ascended from the pit to give the signal to those above to raise us. And I, not caring to remain with the men whom I mistrusted, followed him immediately. The others did not come at once, as I feared they were rifling the tomb afresh of their own account. At last they came, one of them who ascended first, in landing at the top of the cliff, lost his foothold and fell below. He was instantly killed. But the others followed in safety. The chief came next and I came last. Before coming away, I pulled into its place again, as well as I could, the slab of stone that covered the entrance to the tomb. I wished, if possible, to preserve it for my own examination should I come again.
What's that? It's strange how this light plays merry havoc with the shadows. Why, for instance, the fringe of that lampshade there made me think I had seen the shadow of a hand on the page I was reading.
Twice Ross had this experience. Perhaps it was of little wonder that he connected it with such a narrative, for if his eyes told him truly, here in the room with him was the very hand of which the traveller Van Huyn had written.
When we all stood on the hill above the cliff, it was good to see the burning sun so bright and full of glory, after the darkness and strange mystery of the tomb. What is happening?
Monsieur, it is one of the men who went to bury their fallen comrade.
Oh, what happened to the other one?
He says that the lion of the desert killed his companion. After that, they had buried the dead man.
Indeed. Wait a minute. I see something. What is that he is showing the others?
I'm not sure, monsieur. He is saying something about the man who fell from the cliff.
All the saints, it is the hand of the mummy. Why, look, it has the same 7 fingers. See how it gleams so white? They must have wrenched it off the mummy.
He says he found it on the body of the dead man when they went to bury him. He hopes to use it as an amulet or charm.
If powers it has, they are not for him who has taken it from the dead. Already his amulet has an awesome baptism. For see how the rest of the dead hand is stained with red, as though dipped in recent blood. That night I was in certain fear, lest there should be some violence done to me, and determined that at my earliest opportunity I should leave this party, and complete my journey in home. With other guides who knew not what strange matters I had with me, I fell asleep with the jewel hidden in the hollow of my clenched hand.
Qu'est-ce que ça? Quelle horreur! Monsieur, réveillez-vous! Il est mort! Monsieur, awake! Awake! He is dead!
He awoke to a deserted camp, with only one other figure, that of the Arab chief, who lay on his back dead, his face almost black, and his open eyes stared horribly at the sky, as though he saw there some dreadful vision. He had evidently been strangled, for on looking I found on his throat the red marks where fingers had pressed. I counted 7 marks, as though made with one hand. We paused not, but fled from the place. I know not what came of the mummy hand, or those who had it. At the earliest opportunity I made examination of the star ruby, as I wished to try to understand what was graven on it. The symbols, whose meaning, however, I could not understand, were as follows.
Ross sat looking at the book on the table before him, and so many strange thoughts crowded on him that his mind began to whirl. All at once all thoughts seemed to stop, and for an instant the world and time stood still. There lay a real hand across the book. What was there to so overcome him? He knew the hand that he saw in the book, and loved it. Margaret Trelawney's hand was a joy to him to see, to touch. And yet at that moment, coming after the other marvellous things, it had a strangely moving effect on him.
What disturbs you? Why are you staring at the book? I thought for an instant that you must have been overcome again.
An old book from the library. I shall now put it back, as I understand that your father wishes all things, especially books, kept in their proper places.
His words were intentionally misleading, for he did not wish her to know that he was reading. He went away, leaving the book in his room where he could get it later. When he returned, Sister Kennedy was ready to go to bed, so Miss Trelawney watched with him in the room. They sat close together and talked in a whisper while the moments flew by. It was with surprise that Ross noted the edge of the curtains changing from grey to yellow light. He could well take note in the growing light that Margaret's hand had not 7 fingers, but 5, for it lay on his. Later that morning, Margaret had gone to rest. Ross was just finishing his breakfast as Winchester and Corbeck came in.
Good morning, Mr. Ross.
It is indeed. How fares the patient, Doctor? Any change?
Much the same. Regular breathing, regular heart. It continues to puzzle me how well his complexion remains.
I am glad to see you both here together. That book you gave me, Corbeck, I have read the chapter about the finding of the tomb. I think Dr. Winchester should read it too.
What book is this?
I shall leave Mr. Corbeck to explain while I fetch it down. I have it in my room.
Ross went up to his room to bring it down, but could not find it anywhere. He had a distinct recollection of having left it on the little table beside his bed. It was very strange, but that book had disappeared.
I can't find that book anywhere.
Disappeared? How strange.
Perhaps you could tell me what all the fuss is about.
Certainly. For this book led Mr. Trelawney and I to search for the mysterious valley. Whilst he prepared, I went to Holland to verify, if I could, Van Hound's narrative. At last, in the shop of an old watchmaker and jeweller at Hoorn, I found the great ruby, carven like a scarab, with 7 stars, and engraved with hieroglyphics. I had a full purse, and I was shortly on my way back to London with the star ruby safe in my pocketbook. With the proof of Van Hound's wonderful story, we determined to journey to the valley ourselves. The jewel was put in Mr. Trelawney's great safe, and we started out full of hope. Mr. Trelawney was loath to leave his young wife, whom he dearly loved. But she knew his longing to search, so keeping to herself all her anxieties, which in her case were special, she bade him travel off in search of the Valley of the Sorcerer.
They got together a band of Arabs whom they had known in former trips to the desert and whom they could trust. They found their way in Dahabiez to Aswan, whence they set out on their journey through the desert. After much wandering, they came at last at nightfall on just such a valley as Van Hyn had described. At daylight they were opposite the cliff and could easily note the opening high up in the rock and the hieroglyphic figures which were evidently intended originally to conceal it.
There are inscriptions on the cliff face. Surely this is the place.
There is no doubt. This is the work of the priesthood, and a hostile one at that.
Can you make it out?
I believe so. Hither the gods come not at any summons. The Nameless One has insulted them and is forever alone. Go not nigh, lest their vengeance wither you away.
This is hardly welcoming.
The next day they made a ladder and climbed their face of the rock. Trelawney and Cormac went alone into the tomb. In the glow of their lights, the tomb they saw filled them with an ever-increasing wonder and delight.
Those pillars through there! Observe how many sides they have. Did you ever see anything like them before?
5, 6, 7... They each have 7 sides. I have not seen these in any other tombs. No. And look here. Have you seen on the architrave?
I do see it. It is the boat of the moon, containing the cow-headed Hathor and the dog-headed Hapi, the god of the north.
Passing within the portico, they found everything complete as Van Hyn had described. The stele against the western wall was a great slab of lapis lazuli, cut all over with hieroglyphic figures. The inscription began:
Tera, Queen of the Egypts, daughter of Antef, monarch of the north and the south, daughter of the sun, queen of the diadems.
A record of her life and reign. But come, let us go down into the pit.
Trelawney went first. Below they found a great sarcophagus of yellow stone, the one now in Mr. Trelawney's chamber. The cover of it lay on the ground, and the mummy was just as Van Hyn had described it, with part of the arm there, white and ivory-like. But there was a trill to them which came not to Van Hyn. The end of the wrist was covered with dried blood, although the body had bled after death. The blood had streamed down and stained the brown wrappings as with rust.
I, Queen Tera of the 11th dynasty of Egyptian kings, succeeded as the only child of my father Antef. The priesthood had become wealthy and corrupt. With their power came ambition to dominate all of Egypt. But the king, my father, had long suspected some such movement and had taken precaution. He had secured to me the allegiance of the army and taught me magic, Real magic, black magic, which gave me power over sleep and will. Lo, I achieved victory over sleep. I, though a queen, claim all the privileges of kingship and masculinity. Lo, I wear the white and red crowns. Lo, I compel the gods. By the words engraven on the ruby of 7 stars of 7 points, by these master words I tell thee, I compel the gods of the upper and the under worlds. I know of the hatred the priesthood bears towards me. After my death shall my name be suppressed. Therefore, I intend my resurrection to be not here, but shall follow the North Star to a northern land in a distant future. And to this end, my hand is to be in the air, unwrapped, and in it the jewel of 7 stars, so that wherever there is air I might move, even as my car can move.
The suppression of her name was a terrible revenge, for in Egyptian mythology, without a name, no one can after death be introduced to the gods, or have prayers said. And the hand left unwrapped? This meant that her body could become astral at command, and so move particle by particle, and become whole again when and where required. And the North Star? She evidently regarded the plough, what we call the Big Dipper, as a constellation in some way peculiarly associated with herself. They stayed around the Valley of the Sorcerer till they had copied all the tomb's drawings and writings. They took with them the stele of lapis lazuli, the sarcophagus and the mummy, the 7-sided casket from beneath the mummy's feet. Everything they could carry, everything that now resides in the professor's study. And so began the journey back to the Nile, laborious, slow, beset with anxiety, especially at night, and not only from marauders but from their guides. They had taken the mummy from the sarcophagus and packed it for safety of travel in a separate case. During the first night, 2 attempts were made to steal things from the cart, and 2 men were found dead in the morning. And then came the storm.
Mr. Trelawney! Mr. Trelawney!
Over here! Come quickly!
What is it? What have you found?
The mummy, at least. The case, I hope. Damnation, it is only the lid. The case is broken.
And the mummy? Is it not nearby?
No. We must go back to the tomb at the Valley of the Sorcerer.
As you say. But why?
Why? Because we shall find the mummy there. I am sure of it. Wait, and you shall see.
The Arabs were surprised when they retraced their steps, and several of them deserted. As they approached the Valley of the Sorcerer, the Sheikh too showed concern. At the valley's entrance, he refused to go further. He said that if they chose to go in alone, he would await 3 days for their return. But if by that time they had not returned, he would leave. No offer of money would tempt him to depart from this resolution. Trelawney and Cormac took ropes and torches and again ascended to the tomb. It was evident that someone had been there in their absence.
Look here! The stone slab is lying flat!
Yes, and that rope dangling from the cliff's summit.
The thought strikes me.
Yes, that we are possibly walking into a trap.
Exactly.
Too late for that now. And Cormac, if they did lay a trap, they fell into it. Look!
Good heavens! The mummy! But how could you know?
And see, the fellows who deserted us earlier.
What could have happened?
The mummy of Queen Tera lay on the floor where the great sarcophagus had stood. Beside it, in the strange, contorted attitudes of violent death, lay the 3 Arabs who had deserted their party, their faces black and their hands and necks smeared with blood. On the throat of each were the marks, now blackening, of a hand, with 7 fingers.
And see there, on the mummy.
The hand! The hand with 7 fingers!
Most wonderful of all, across the breast of the mummified queen lay a hand of 7 fingers, ivory white, the wrist showing a scar like a jagged red line, from which seemed to descend drops of blood.
Greetings, monsieur. Welcome to the Shepherd Hotel. Always so glad to see you here. Your rooms are ready and waiting for you.
Thank you, Severin. We've had a long journey. Have you a newspaper there?
Mais bien sûr. Here you are.
Look! Look at the date!
I see it. Yes, the 10th of November. How could we have been 3 days in the tomb without realizing it?
How indeed. It is clear that Queen Tera has had something to do with it.
Monsieur Trelawney, a telegram for you.
Heartbreaking news. Mrs. Trelawney had died giving birth to a daughter. Her stricken husband hurried off at once by the Orient Express. The child being born while he stood entranced in the mummy's pit of Queen Tera. Trelawney loved his daughter, almost idolised her, yet he could never forget that her birth had cost a mother's life. But there was something else, for sometimes he thought that Margaret was unlike a mother. Instead, she bore a rather marvellous resemblance to the pictures of Queen Tera. In time, the professor opened the subject with Corbeck. They stood in his library, lighted by powerful electric lamps. The little bloodstone table actually seemed to glow as if lit in some way from within.
What do you think of it?
It is like a jewel. A sorcerer's magic coffer. It almost seems to be alive.
Do you notice anything about the arrangement of the electric lamps?
The lamps? Not really, but... Wait! Of course!
They are in the shape of the stars in the plough, like the stars in the jewel.
The tomb writings referred to the 7 stars forming the constellation of the plough, and emphasised the north again and again. On the bloodstone table, Trelawney laid the magic coffer and saw that its odd protuberances corresponded to the stars in the constellation. "Eureka!" he cried. "All we want now is the lamps."
But where are the lamps?
Where are the lamps? I shall tell you. In the tomb.
In the tomb?
You will have to find them.
The next week, Corbeck started for Egypt, and never rested till he stood again in the tomb. Serdab was there, but empty, and with a dead man in Arab dress who had fallen victim to its traps.
That was nearly 3 years ago. At last, not 2 months ago, I found the lamps I was looking for. As fast as possible, I travelled to London with only the lamps. Now, Mr. Ross, you know all I know.
Later that night, Malcolm kept watch outside Professor's sick room. Here he sat for a long time, thinking about all that Mr. Corbeck had told him, and taking notes.
What a remarkable few days it has been. So unexpected, so incredible, and yet so wondrous. So many incidents, all happening one after the other.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
The voice was deep. It was strong. It was masterful. And it came from the bed. The sick man was awake and speaking.
We have been watching by you.
Watching by me? Why watching by me? My wrist. What has happened? Why is it bandaged? Are you a doctor?
No, sir. I am a friend of your daughter.
Margaret. If you are not a doctor, what are you?
My name is Ross. Malcolm Ross. I am a barrister.
Malcolm Ross. Yes, I know that name. Heard well of you. And you know my Margaret?
Yes, from the haze in Belgrave Square 10 days ago. Then at her picnic up the river with Lady Strathconnell. I ventured to ask Miss Trelawney to count on me as a friend. She promised that she would. Then, the night you were stricken down in her desolation and anxiety, she sent for me. When your letter of instructions was found, I offered my services. To watch.
And these days, how did they pass for you?
These days, sir, despite all their harrowing anxiety, despite all the pain they held for the girl whom I grew to love more and more with each passing hour, have been the happiest of my life.
I suppose, then, that you mean to be a suitor for her hand later on.
Absolutely. Firm and fixed.
I take it that until I have seen her and have given you permission, you will not make any declaration to my daughter in words.
I shall respect your wishes, sir.
Time presses, and I have to think of some matter so urgent and so strange that I dare not lose an hour. Otherwise...
I understand, of course.
Margaret, my child, tender and thoughtful, strong and brave, like her dear mother.
She asked me to come when she thought you had been murdered.
Murdered? Was that last night?
No, 4 days ago.
Quickly, tell me about it. All you know, every detail. Omit nothing.
After Malcolm and Trelawney had been speaking for some time, the sound of their voices attracted the attention of the others in the household.
Come in.
The door was hurriedly thrown open, and in an instant Margaret had sprung forward and clasped her father in her arms.
Father! Dear, dear father, at last, at last!
That was Episode 2 of The Jewel of Seven Stars by Bram Stoker, adapted by Arnold Anthony Schmidt and Julia Warren with Lucy Archer-Woodcock as Margaret Trelawney, Jonathan Brandt as Corbeck, Michael Cogan as Abel Trelawney, Gregory Dwyer as Malcolm Ross, Jason Greenwood as Bram Stoker, John Martin as Inspector Dolan, Carter Nisbet as Dr. Winchester, Chris Barry as Van Huyne, Carl Bengston as the hotel manager, Clive Marlowe as the interpreter. Other parts performed by members of the cast. Original music composed and performed by Riverhawk.
But Jesus, that was great fun, wasn't it?
Check out our website at talesfromthepennybloods.org and subscribe